Well, shaking, folks. Back with another reaction, back with some more J-drama score, and we're going back to one of the very first J-dramas I ever saw. That is My Boss, My Hero. This is from 2005. It stars Nagase Tomoya, lead singer of the band Tokyo, Tokio. Reacted to the theme song, which is by Tokyo, called Sorafune. This is a long time ago in their band's history, but it remains a song that is always one of my favorite from them. But they continue into the modern day, which, a lot of bands, especially like in the J-pop realm, there's a lot of turnover and, different people. But the Tokyo lineup has stayed pretty steady. I mentioned it before when I reacted to Sorafune. The show itself is essentially like a version of Billy Madison. I think it was originally a Korean show, or maybe there's a Korean show that's based off this one. Basically, there's a couple different versions of this in some different television cultures, but the Japanese version, as I said, is called My Boss, My Hero. Nagase Tomoya plays a Yakuza boss's son who's set to take over the criminal enterprise, but he flunked out of high school and he's sort of dumb with things. So even though he's very intimidating and he's a good fighter and he's in many ways he fits the mold, the dad is worried that maybe the criminal enterprise will go into the ground because he's not smart enough to run it. Meanwhile, his straight-laced younger brother has just returned from college, and even though he wanted nothing to do with the family business, suddenly he says not only does he want something to do with it, that he should take it over because he's smarter and he'll run it better than Makio, the older brother. So the show, it's like super comedy, like really over-the-top comedy, because he has to pretend to be a high school student and go back and prove to his dad that he's smart enough to take over by graduating high school, like properly, without bribing any teachers or whatever, which he's like, oh, but I got good grades in junior high, and the dad's like, yeah, well, I bribed all all your teachers, so you actually didn't get good grades. It's really funny. It's absurdist comedy. As the show goes along, it gets more serious, and there's like he has an attraction to the teacher, and the teacher is sort of attracted to him, but like the teacher doesn't know that he's really like 30 years old, so the teacher's kind of like, she's weirded out by the chemistry between them, and then like one of his fellow students kind of has a crush on him, and she's really sweet, but he's older, so he doesn't want to date her. It's like a lot of absurdist comedy, but it gets more emotional as it goes along. And even though at first he doesn't really care about the other students in the school, by the end, he comes to see that they're all good kids. And there's a scene where he's trying to like explain without giving away, that he really is older and he shouldn't be in school with them. But he's saying like, you guys are kind of arguing with each other and whatever. Like, you got to realize this is the time of your life. Like, these friends, you're randomly in classes together. You didn't choose to, have random classes with the particular people that make up your class. But this is your class. This is your youth right now. And these memories that you have, like, they'll stay with you a long time. And so make good ones. Don't spend it like arguing over dumb things, but like, share in each other's company and so on. It's like a really cool moment in the show. And in that moment, I think it plays this tune, if I'm remembering that correctly. So the soundtrack to My Boss, My Hero, shown here, is by Takami Yu. Now, Yu as a given name is usually a woman, so I'm guessing that this is a woman, but I don't know that for sure, and if I'm getting that wrong, I do apologize. But yeah, the soundtrack for this one is by Takami Yu. The tune we're going to listen to is called Portrait, the strings version. There is another regular version of Portrait on the album, but it's later in the soundtrack. So you hear the strings version first, and then you hear the regular version of Portrait later. We'll listen to them both, but we'll start with this one. So let's get it. This is Takami Yu from the My Boss, My Hero soundtrack, I believe 2005. Do I have that right? 2006. Sorry, I was getting that 1 year off. It's 2006, and the tune is called Portrait, the strings version. perfection. It really is great. And again, I love that show and I love that the first few shows of J-drama I saw, which is this show, Nodome Cantabile, and Hanayori Dango, all three of them, and they're different. One is fundamentally a music show. Yes, romance is a big part of it. Nodome Cantabile. Hanayori Dango, it's all about the romance, but there's other stuff going on around it. And then this one, again, it's like a comedy where he has to go back to high school even though he's older, and he's trying not to, beat up kids that try to take his lunch money. So it's like the vibe of the three shows is very different, but what they all do is they all combine like serious moments, absurdist comedy, and then like compelling drama in a way that like I feel like a lot of American shows stick to like one track more readily. Like if it's a romance show, then it's kind of the drama and the angst and the so on back and forth. And if it's a comedy, it's just one-liners and sort of awkward like scene comedy, situational comedy. But yeah, a lot of J-dramas, it's like you find yourself laughing hilariously, and then like either later that episode or by the next episode, you're like on the verge of tears. And it's like, whoa, like huge tonal shift here, but it works. So what I loved about that moment I described, which is about, I don't know, like halfway through the show, and it's like he's beginning to take going to school more seriously, because when he first gets there, he's like doing the same things. He wants to like break into the school at night so he can get the legend for the test that's coming up, so he doesn't actually have to study for it, and he can just keep going out like drinking with his friends or whatever, like his fellow sort of underlings in the Yakuza like hierarchy. But again, by like as the show goes on, he gets more earnest in his engagement with the school and with the the kids that he's going to school with, and what it would mean to graduate, and maybe what he thinks about joining the Yakuza group and what it would mean to lead it, and maybe he doesn't want to lead it the way it's been led before. So the show gets more serious, and like the emotions get a little more real as it goes along. So it's another great, I think, introduction to J-drama, and I was just lucky that the first few I watched kind of had that flavor. So I've now seen a lot of J-dramas that have a more specific, like a real gritty, like neo-noir show, and that's not going to shift to like a silly one-liner halfway through the episode. But again, a lot of J-dramas do that combined thing, and My Boss, My Hero is a great example. So yeah, big ups to Takami Yu for the soundtrack, and for this tune specifically. We'll listen to the regular portrait at some point in the future, but I do think that is a superior version. And again, that scene where he's in class, and it's before the teacher like gets there, and again, they're kind of arguing and sort of like bickering and like whatever, and saying they don't care. And by this point, he's starting to change the way he's thinking, and he's like, hey, like, don't say that. Like, you only have this like youthful experience one time, and try to spend it doing the right things and enjoying it, not just being bitter and like checked out the whole time. So it's a really cool moment, really cool musical accompaniment to that. Do let me know what you think of the tune. I'll see you next time. Peace.